Justin Jefferson. Minnesota signed Jefferson to a 4-year extension worth $140 million. $110 million of that deal is guaranteed. Jefferson's new contract will pay him an average of $35 million per season through 2028. The 4-year veteran has been one of the most productive receivers in the NFL since the Vikings drafted him in 2022. He's got 392 catches for 5,899 yards and 30 touchdowns. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
When I move my body, I feel like freedom. Happy anniversary, KBLA.
The only black talk radio station west of the Mississippi.
And they wondered if a black talk radio station would work in Southern California.
Y'all did it!
Well, KBLA Talk 1580 toasts its 3rd anniversary on Juneteenth, and you're invited to celebrate with us.
Hey, Tavis Smiley, y'all the bomb!
All you have to do is go to KBLA1580.com right now and sign up. Admission is free, but mandatory, and space is limited. Once we reach capacity, we'll have to cut off the online registration, but it's open right now.
Oh, my God.
So don't delay.
Thank you guys for being the best at what you do.
Log on to KBLATalk1580.com right now and register to join us for an afternoon of good music, good people, and good vibes.
Happy anniversary.
Wednesday, June 19th, 4 p.m. to 8 p.m. We will provide the food and drink, but be sure to bring your low-back chairs, blankets, and your personal picnic baskets.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Let's celebrate 3 years of being the most trusted, credible, and reliable source of news and information.
We love you, KBLA.
We're KBLA Talk 1580, and we're black and stride again.
Black and stride again.
Happy anniversary.
1, 2, 3, go. I'm gonna try to keep it coming. Things ain't always smooth, oh, but I'll be alright as long as I can find the groove. Yes, I will. Somehow I know that I can make it. You seem to like my style. Don't you worry, I'm gonna be around a while. Yes, I will. I'm just happy to see you talk to me back and slide again.
Live from historic Leimert Park in Los Angeles, California, I'm Tavis Smiley, and I'm so glad to see you and me back in stride again. Before we get started with today's show, let me invite you to follow me on Facebook and Instagram at The Real Tavis Smiley, and get updates on X, that's formerly Twitter, at Tavis Smiley. By the way, should you miss any part of today's program or want to catch up on previous shows, you can always visit thetavissmileyshow.com. That's thetavissmileyshow.com, or wherever you get your podcast, and listen to the Tavis Smiley podcast version of this live program at your leisure. Another great show on tap for you today. In our second hour, author and journalist Tracy McMillan on how racial privilege begets material advantage as detailed in her new text, The White Bonus, 5 Families and the Cash Value of Racism in America. In our third hour, 2 conversations. Up first, SNL alum, comedian Finesse Mitchell is back. That should be fun. On the B side of our 3, Representative Marilyn Strickland on how her black and Korean heritage informs her work in Congress. But in this first hour, 2 more conversations today. On the B side of this hour, longtime civil rights attorney Ron Kuby on the trials and tribulations of the president's son, Hunter Biden, and the impact of the son's situation on the father's re-election campaign. We'll talk about that on the B side of our third and final hour today. But we commence today's show with Ambassador John Bolton. I am curious to get his take on conflicts abroad and the current political agenda being advanced by his former boss, Donald Trump. Ambassador Bolton, good to have you on the program. How are you today, sir?
Doing fine. Glad to be with you. Thank you for having me.
It's good to have you on. I'm glad I've got these 25 minutes. Let me make the most of the time that we have. It is not often that I get a chance, or this audience gets a chance through me, to hear conversations with persons who were on the inside of Donald Trump's circle, inside the White House. So broadly speaking, and I promise you I will narrow this as we move through these 25 minutes, but broadly speaking, what do you make of your former boss these days?
Well, he's just about the same as he was before. He's undisciplined. He focuses exclusively on what's for the benefit of Donald Trump. And I think if he's reelected in November, that will remain the case. I think it's important to understand this is a man with no philosophy. He doesn't do policy like we normally think of that, particularly in Washington. He thinks about what's good for Donald Trump, and he makes a lot of decisions, but they're not connected. They're ad hoc, transactional. It's very hard to predict because what he thinks benefits him on any given day it could change by the next day. I used to say that working in his administration, working in the White House with him was like living inside a pinball machine.
That's an interesting metaphor. I was just reading the other day in preparation for another conversation, Ambassador Bolton, and I'm honored to have you on. Just reading the other day some new data about the ways in which our personalities as Homo sapiens, as human beings, our personalities are pretty much formed, believe it or not, in our youth. Even before we get to adolescence, the basic formation of our personalities are pretty much locked in. So when you said a moment ago that Donald Trump is today the same as he was before, it raises the obvious question for a guy like that who you're critiquing in the way you are today, why did you go to work for this guy in the White House in the first place?
Well, I believed, I had met with him on any number of occasions before he became a candidate, when he was a candidate, after he had already been sworn in, sitting in the Oval Office. So I had heard pretty much everything about him. I think we've all heard by now. I've been called a lot of things. I've never been called naive, so I went into this with my eyes open. But I felt that I'd spent a career in national security. I thought I could offer sound advice, and I really did believe that, like every one of his predecessors, Donald Trump would be disciplined by the gravity of the responsibilities he had in the national security space, by the weight of the responsibilities he had, and that would help form a disciplined policy-making process that we could come to the right decisions for the good of the country. And what I discovered pretty soon after I got there was I was completely wrong. He wasn't disciplined by anything. He was, as I just described a moment ago, he thinks in the moment and not much beyond the moment, and he thinks about Donald Trump.
John Bolton, as you know, led Donald Trump's national security team. There's a great deal more to talk about. Just getting started with him. Honored to have him right now on Tavis Smiley.
From Lamert Park with love, this is Tavis Smiley.
Not feeling like yourself lately? Has your weight loss plateaued? If so, it is time to embrace the D-Herbs Full Body Cleanse, a cleansing regimen that can help you lose 10 to 30 pounds in just 20 days. The D-Herbs Cleanse also helps to boost your immune system, improve your mental clarity, clear up your skin, and improve your digestion. The cleanse is like a factory reset for your health. The Full Body Cleanse is a great way to propel you into a healthier lifestyle, and with summer just around the corner, there has never been a better time to initiate that weight loss program and reboot your system. So go right now to dherbs.com and order your Full Body Cleanse today, or call 866-434-3727. If you enter Tavis at checkout, you'll get a discount. That's D-Herbs. Experience healing.
Cookie wants to be a professional wrestler.
I'm Cookie Serratos, and I'm 11 years old.
She also wants to win all the medals. That's why Cookie and her family make every day count, squeezing out her best with Go-Go Squeeze.
Okay, Cookie, let's break for a Go-Go Squeeze.
Go-Go Squeeze fruit-on-the-go pouches are a nutritious snack made from 100% fruit with no sugar added.
Go, Cookie!
Because when you nurture your kids, you squeeze out the best in them. Squeeze out the best with Go-Go Squeeze. Not a low-calorie food. Products range from 11 to 13 grams of sugar and 60 to 70 calories per serving.
Looks like Bobby needs a ride again.
Grab the keys.
Let's take our auntie to the swap meet.
Grab the keys.
Whether you're giving rides or hauling gear, do it all in a Chevy SUV. Head to your local Chevy dealer, where well-qualified buyers get 1.9% financing on all 2024 Malibu, Colorado, Blazer, Equinox, Trailblazer, and Traverse limited models. Chevrolet, together, let's drive.
1.9% APR for 36 months. Monthly payment is $28.60 for every $1,000 you finance. Example down payment 15.8% must finance with GM Financial. Some customers may not qualify. Not available with lease and some other offers. Take new retail delivery by 7/1/24.
My friends swim no matter the season, but my moderate to severe plaque psoriasis can sometimes take me out of the moment. Now, thanks to Skyrizi and clear skin, count me in. With Skyrizi, Risankizumab Riza, a prescription-only 150 milligram injection for adults who are candidates for systemic or phototherapy. 3 out of 4 people achieve 90% clear skin at 4 months.
Don't use if allergic to Skyrizi. Serious allergic reactions and an increased risk of infections or a lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, your doctor should check for infection and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor if you have an infection or symptoms such as fever, sweats, chills, muscle aches, or cough, or if you plan to or recently received a vaccine.
Thanks to Skyrizi, there's nothing on my skin, and that means everything. Ask your doctor today about Skyrizi, the #1 dermatologist-prescribed biologic in psoriasis, and visit skyrizi.com or call 1-866-SKYRIZI to learn more.
Who do you trust to get at the truth? Tavis Smiley. That's who. The conversation continues right now.
A tisket, a tasket, a brown and yellow basket. I send a letter to my mommy on the way. I dropped it, I dropped it, I dropped it. Yes, on the way I dropped it. A little girlie picked it up and put it in her pocket.
I'm Tavis Smiley. That is the one and only Ella Fitzgerald. Why are we playing Ella Fitzgerald? I'm glad you asked. Because June is Black Music Month, and every single day this month that I'm on the air, as we do every year, we are choosing a particular artist of the day, if you will, an artist in residence, and all 3 hours of our program as we weave in and out of these brilliant conversations with these amazing guests. You'll be hearing the sounds of Ella Fitzgerald. We started yesterday with the great Curtis Mayfield. Today, Ella Fitzgerald, so the country wouldn't be the country without black music on the soundtrack. And for that matter, the world wouldn't be the world without black music on the soundtrack. So every June, we celebrate Black Music Month. And so throughout this month, you're going to get all kinds of great black music, from R&B to pop to hip-hop to jazz to folk to gospel. We're going to celebrate it all this month in June. And today, our artist in residence, all 3 hours, is Ella Fitzgerald. Our guest in this hour is Ambassador John Bolton. He ran the national security team for Donald Trump. And I'm always fascinated by the critique of those who have worked with Mr. Trump. Not often, as I said earlier, that we get a chance to go inside of his circle to see what they have to say about him. And so no one tighter in that circle in the White House years ago than John Bolton, and I'm, again, honored to have him on this program. There are a number of national security issues I want to get to because the country, many in the country certainly are concerned and afraid, frankly, that if Donald Trump, as you suggested earlier, Ambassador Bolton, is reelected, we are in some trouble, and that's putting it mildly. But let me do this. Obviously, since the verdict last week, there are polls everywhere. And I want to just highlight 3 different polls, and I'm not sure I can make sense of all 3. Maybe you can, because they're all going in different directions, as it were. But let me share with you what I have in my hand that you likely have already seen anyway, as have many, of course, in my audience, I suspect. The first is an ABC News poll. The ABC News poll finds that nearly half of Americans think that Donald Trump should now end his campaign after the conviction. Nearly half of Americans think he should now not just suspend, but end his campaign, given that he has now been convicted. That's the ABC News poll. There's a second poll from CBS News that suggests that, and these two kind of go together, I guess. CBS News poll finds that a majority of Americans agree with this verdict. There's been a lot of critique about the verdict and how swiftly it came, and whether or not this jury was ever inclined to give Mr. Trump a fair hearing, given how swiftly, again, they came back with their verdict. But a majority of Americans, according to CBS News and their poll, believe that the verdict was the right verdict. They agree with it. And then thirdly, there's a poll from Reuters. And the Reuters poll suggests that Republicans, though, remain firmly behind Donald Trump. That's the Reuters poll. And you ain't got to read the Reuters poll to understand that in fact is true, given all the money he's raised. The Daily Mail reported yesterday $200 million. Today we're reading $141 million. Whatever the number is, somewhere between 141 and 200 million is the number, the amount that Donald Trump has raised since this verdict. I stand down now, Ambassador Bolton. 3 polls. How do you read them?
Well, I think it's obviously mixed in the sense that how people feel about the verdict doesn't necessarily translate into how they'll vote in November. But I do think that, and I had questions about this case from the beginning as a matter of legal theory. I was worried it would actually help propel Trump's campaign forward. But we can put all that aside and just say, look, right now we've got a verdict. 12 jurors voted to convict him on every count, meaning they found no reasonable doubt that he was guilty. And how do Americans feel about that? And I believe, and I think these polls show, most Americans don't think we should elect a convicted felon to the presidency. And I think if Trump's opponents are able to make that point effectively, that in November it will have an impact. I don't agree with the polls that say, Trump dominates the Republican Party and he's remade the party and the party of Ronald Reagan is no more. I don't believe that. I can't tell you how many Republicans I talk to who can't stand Trump, but in November they'll grit their teeth and vote for him. It won't include me, by the way, but others who will vote for him because they think that he's better than the alternative Joe Biden. They're doing it not because they're happy to do it, not because they support Trump, but because of the alternative. And so I think this is an important point to make. And I think while Trump is ahead in the polls today, and my guess would be if the election were held today, he'd probably win. It's a long way to November.
You said a few things there that are worth unpacking. Let me jump right in again, making the most of the time that I have with you. When you say, first of all, that many of your Republican friends can't stand Donald Trump, I'm trying to juxtapose that, trying to square that with the fact that these same Republicans that are talking to you had like 87 choices during the primary season, and nobody got behind any of those choices. Nikki Haley held out as long as she could, and she wasn't the answer to the prayer, as we say in my community. So if they feel that way about Donald Trump and can't stand him, how then do you explain that when they were given other choices, they looked the other way, number one? And number two, how do you explain all of this money? And the money's coming from 2 sources. We are told it's coming from small donor contributors, but it's clearly also coming from the establishment. How do you square those 2 things with your suggestion to us that many Republicans don't like him?
Well, if you look at the primary campaign, a number of candidates who I think would have been strong didn't get in, so that left the ones that did. And Trump had, really for quite some time, I think, a base within the party of between 25-35% of the vote, and the other candidates split the vote. And frankly, a lot of them didn't perform very well. So you're talking to an unhappy person looking at the outcome of the Republican nomination process, because that would have been, I think, the easiest and best place to beat Trump, and obviously it didn't happen. In terms of the contributions, I do think now some establishment types are going to contribute in large dollar amounts. I think they are recognizing what they see as the inevitable, that he's going to be the nominee and could be the president, and they're just making their peace with it. Again, that doesn't include me, but it does include a lot of people. The small dollar contributors, though, I think it's important to focus on. Trump is very successful in raising, $5, $10 contributions from people not of, great economic means. They may give $5 this month, $10 the next month, and you ask, well, why are people giving in those amounts to Trump? And I think what it says is this is a group of very alienated people. Many of them used to be in the Democratic Party, and they feel alienated from that. They feel alienated from society. Back in 2016, there was a substantial group of people who in the Democratic primary voted for Bernie Sanders instead of Hillary Clinton. And then in the general election in November, they voted for Donald Trump instead of Hillary Clinton. And you say, how can somebody vote for Bernie Sanders in the primary for the Democrats and then for Trump in November? Because they feel left out of society. Now, I'm not saying that we should feel sorry for them. I'm just trying to say this is a profound problem in a country where we do have a pretty intense partisan division. Something we need to be concerned about.
As I sit here and listen to you, Ambassador, there's something that I'm trying to, juxtapose in my own thinking, and I'm sure as wise as my audience is, they probably heard and are processing the same thing. Here's the frame that we're in. We're talking to John Bolton, Ambassador John Bolton, who ran Donald Trump's national security team inside the White House. He is not the only one who was in Trump's inner circle. There are many of them. He's just, top of the heap, if you will. But there are any number of them who have now come out publicly repeatedly and said this guy is a danger to democracy. He is an existential threat to the future of this country and to the democracy, the republic. You've heard it said a variety of ways. What I just said is not a John Bolton quote, but you take my point. That is the sentiment that these insiders, these Trump insiders, are now sharing with the rest of us, that this guy is not, again, the answer to the prayer. And then you heard John Bolton say, but I fret and fear that if the election were held today, Donald Trump would win. I am not naive in asking this question. I'm reading the same stuff you're reading, Ambassador Bolton, about at least the polls and surveys and studies. But how do I square that insiders who've worked with this guy are telling us, do not vote for this guy? I, as a former insider, am not going to vote for this guy. And then, in the very next breath, you tell me that if the election were held today, you believe he would win. I'm not arguing the point. I'm just asking you, do you hear how strange that sounds?
Well, it may be strange. I'm not happy about it. Let me tell you. But I think the point you're raising is significant because of the number of people, and as you rightly say, I'm certainly not the only one. We have been up close and personal with him. I mean, I would see him multiple times a day, every day, unless he was on the road and I wasn't with him or something like that. So. You get to know somebody when you work that closely with them over a long period of time, as did many others in his White House, and so I think we see the problems and the issues and the defects, and there's no explaining them away after a while. It's not a personality question. The man is not fit to be president. But to say, well, then how can he be in the lead or even in close competition? I think it's because a lot of people feel so distant from the other parts of the population that they think they're getting a raw deal, and Trump is able to say, I'm standing up for you in a way nobody else has ever done. Mm-hmm. There were focus groups taken some time ago. They asked Trump supporters, why do you support Trump? And the people in the focus group said, because he fights for us. And so then they ask, well, what does he fight for you for? And they just say, he fights for us. That's what they want. It's not that they have a clear philosophy. They just feel they're not getting a fair shake, and they think, mistakenly in my view, Trump will give it to them.
Yeah. You mentioned Hillary Clinton earlier. I'm going to be with her tomorrow. So hopefully she isn't listening right about now and get what I'm about to say. But she and I are on stage together here in Los Angeles tomorrow, so I'll see her then. And I like Hillary Clinton. I've known her for a long time, she and her husband. I consider both of them friends, and if they were here, they'd say the same thing. I think that Tavis is a personal friend of our family. And yet, if you were to ask me, one of the primary reasons I think Hillary ended up losing to Donald Trump in part is that she has always had a likability issue. She's obviously very bright. You can agree or disagree on her public policy positions, but she has had a likability issue. And I think Kamala Harris, frankly, has the same thing. Just people just don't find them likable for some reason, and I can't get in the middle of all that. The inside, I don't know all the research and the data why people feel the way they feel, but it's clear to me they have likability issues. Hillary had that problem and suffered from it at the end of the day. Donald Trump, though, is more unlikable than any person in the history of the American Republic on a ballot, and yet I'm still trying to square how so many people can see him as the answer, Ambassador Bolton. And maybe it doesn't change the answer you just gave. And maybe there's not even a question there. I'm just saying, since you mentioned Hillary, that Donald Trump is not likable. You see that in every poll, and yet he keeps surging, man.
Yeah, well, I think it's because he sticks his finger in the other people's eye, and they like to see it. And in terms of Hillary, by the way, she and her husband, I've known her longer than you, I'm willing to bet. She and her husband were a year ahead of me in law school. So give her my regards when you see her.
I would do that. I would do that. I got 5 minutes left. Let me run through. This is a round-robin round here, a fast round of some international issues I want to get your take on right quick. Obviously, I can't talk to you and not ask you about Israel and Hamas, given that you ran national security for our country a few years ago. President Biden has said that Hamas is completely depleted, and he's pushing for Bibi Netanyahu to sign on to this ceasefire. Israel obviously disagrees. Your take?
Well, I don't think they are. Hamas is completely depleted, and I think we're all making a mistake by focusing on Israel versus Hamas. The real instigator of this war is Iran, and using their terrorist proxies like Hamas in the Gaza Strip, like the Houthis closing the Red Sea, Suez Canal passage, like Hezbollah in Lebanon, like the militias in Iraq and Syria. That's what the real threat is, and it's a threat not just to Israel; it's a threat to the Arab countries on the peninsula, the oil-producing monarchies. Really, I think the Ayatollahs are the main cause of the threat to peace and security in the region. That's what we ought to be focused on.
Donald Trump has said, if elected, that he would engage a series of mass deportations of these illegals, as he calls them. President Biden today is set to sign an executive order to essentially seal the southern border to most migrants. We saw the election of the first woman as president of Mexico yesterday. This immigration issue, how do you read it?
Well, I think Trump obviously sees it as something very, very beneficial to him. I think Biden's trying to play catch-up. I mean, I've been involved in this since I worked for Ronald Reagan in 1986. Remember Father Hesburgh have an answer to immigration. We passed it, didn't work. Personally, I believe in more legal immigration. I think the U.S. can use more people, and I just wish we could get together on an orderly way to do it. We benefit from immigrants. It's been true throughout our history. We shouldn't turn our eyes against that.
How much longer can we continue to write checks to Ukraine, particularly if the evidence suggests that Russia continues to gain on them?
Well, I think it's very important that we prevent Russia's unprovoked aggression against Ukraine from succeeding. And, you know, the checks that we're writing, most of them are to American arms manufacturers. We're running through a lot of our arsenal of and ammunition, giving it to Ukraine, and replacing it with upgraded materials. So we're benefiting in a partial way about this, but the main thing is to teach the Kremlin that the use of force against a peaceful nation on their border is not going to solve their problems. They're going to have us on their back.
I got 45 seconds left here. You used a phrase earlier that I've been noodling on, marinating on since you used it 12 minutes ago, 13 minutes ago, and that is, you said you thought that Donald Trump, when you went to work for him, you went in with your eyes wide open, but you thought he'd be disciplined by the gravity of the moment. Speaking of the gravity of the moment, how grave are things on the world stage as you see them for our country right now?
Well, I think threats are multiplying all around the world. We have the war in the Middle East. We have war in Europe. We've got China looking at all kinds of opportunities along their periphery in the Indo-Pacific. The world's getting more dangerous. We need a strong American foreign policy. That's how we protect ourselves, peace through strength. And I don't think we're pursuing it effectively. And I don't think Donald Trump would pursue it effectively either.
Ambassador John Bolton, an honor to have you on this program. Thanks for sharing your insider's view. We'll do it again. I hope all the best to you, sir.
Well, thanks. Same to you.
Good to have you on. June is Black Music Month. We continue to celebrate all 3 hours of today's program, the music of Ella Fitzgerald.
Hanging over a muslin tree, but it wouldn't be make-believe if you believed in me. Without your love,
Unapologetically progressive. Unapologetically black. You're tapped into Tavis Smiley.
Paid for by government.com. Did you know? The United States Mint has issued a new Morgan silver dollar coin in proof condition for the first time. Not only that, they are also minted in 99.9% pure silver for the first time ever in history. Coin experts are calling this an amazing opportunity for anyone that knows the enduring popularity of Morgans. But you must hurry. Only 400,000 of these legal tender silver dollars were issued. These first ever Morgan silver dollars are brand new with stunning mirror-like finish, Minted by the iconic San Francisco Mint. Call now and you're guaranteed a new first ever 99.9% pure silver proof Morgan dollar. To learn more, call 1-800-973-9717. If you order now, you will receive a free coin collector bonus pack, a $25 value, free with every order. Call 1-800-973-9717 now to secure your new Morgan silver dollars before they are gone. That's 1-800-973-9717.
I'm Mike Moore. Here's the latest from the Black Information Network. Opening statements have gotten underway in Hunter Biden's federal firearms case. 12 jurors and 4 alternates were selected in a Delaware federal courtroom Monday. The president's son is accused of illegally buying and possessing a gun while being addicted to drugs in 2018. It marks the first time in U.S. history the child of a sitting president has gone on trial. Biden has pleaded not guilty to 3 charges. Former Miami Heat star Alonzo Mourning is recovering after surgery to remove his prostate back in March. The African-American 7-time All-Star said he was diagnosed with stage 3 prostate cancer prior to surgery. He said the cancer did not spread beyond the prostate and he's now cancer-free. And that's the latest. I'm Mike Moore from your 24/7 news source, the Black Information Network and BINnews.com.
Free is key during Craftsman Days at Lowe's. Right now, get 1 free Select V20 tool when you buy a Select battery 2-pack. Lowe's knows home improvement. Valid through 6/19 while supplies last. Selection varies by location.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
A very interesting miniseries makes its debut today on Hulu. It's called Clipped, a 6-part series based on the Clippers' former owner Donald Sterling. The series examines how Sterling struggled to own the Clippers. The series also deals with how his life changed forever after his secretly taped racist comments surfaced in 2014. Comments that rocked the NBA and nearly led to a players' boycott in the playoffs led by LeBron James. Some of Sterling's comments attacked Lakers legend Magic Johnson. Sterling was banned from the NBA for the rest of his life and forced to sell the Clippers. Actor Ed O'Neill plays the part of Sterling. The series also features the brilliant Lawrence Fishburne. It's called Clipped and is streaming on Hulu. Should be a very interesting series to watch about one of the most hated individuals in NBA history. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
Environmental justice is racial justice.
Environmental justice is social justice.
This is KBLA Talk 1580.
Bank of America has powerful digital solutions for local and global businesses, so you can make every move matter. Visit bankofamerica.com/banking for business to learn more. Bank of America N.A. Copyright 2024.
I'm getting vaccinated with Prevnar 20, a Pfizer vaccine.
So am I, because I'm at risk for pneumococcal pneumonia.
If you're 19 or older with chronic conditions like asthma, diabetes, COPD, or heart disease, or are 65 or older, you are at increased risk for pneumococcal pneumonia. Ask your doctor or pharmacist about Prevnar 20, pneumococcal 20-valent conjugate vaccine. It can help protect you against pneumococcal pneumonia in just 1 dose. Even if you've already been vaccinated with other pneumonia vaccines, Prevnar 20 may help provide added protection. Prevnar 20 is approved for adults to help prevent infections from 20 strains of the bacteria that cause pneumococcal pneumonia. Continued approval may depend on a supportive study. Don't get Prevnar 20 if you've had a severe allergic reaction to the vaccine or its ingredients. Adults with weakened immune systems may have a lower response to the vaccine. Side effects include pain and swelling at the injection site, fatigue, headache, muscle, and joint pain. For full prescribing information, please call 1-855-213-2138 or visit Prevnar20.com.
We've got a lot to talk about.
Hi, I'm Zoe Williams, a.k.a. the voice of reason, encouraging you to join me weekdays from 7 to 9 p.m. for the world's most intriguing relationship radio roundtable. Every night, I facilitate and encourage our loyal listeners to participate in the most engaging relationship discussions you'll hear anywhere. So make it a point to rendezvous with me, Zoe Williams, the voice of reason, Monday through Friday, 7 to 9 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Trust me, your relationships will never be the same. The VOR is on fire tonight.
Unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black.
If you love to travel, Capital One has a rewards credit card that's perfect for you. With Venture X, earn unlimited double miles on everything you buy and turn everyday purchases into extraordinary trips. Plus, receive premium travel benefits like access to over 1,300 airport lounges where you just check in and chill out. Open up a world of possibilities with Capital One. What's in your wallet?
Terms apply. Lounge access is subject to change. See CapitalOne.com for details.
I'm getting vaccinated with Prevnar 20, a Pfizer vaccine.
So am I, because I'm at risk for pneumococcal pneumonia.
If you're 19 or older with chronic conditions like asthma, diabetes, COPD, or heart disease, or are 65 or older, you are at increased risk for pneumococcal pneumonia. Ask your doctor or pharmacist about Prevnar 20, pneumococcal 20-valent conjugate vaccine. It can help protect you against pneumococcal pneumonia in just one dose. Even if you've already been vaccinated with other pneumonia vaccines, Prevnar 20 may help provide added protection. Prevnar 20 is approved for adults to help prevent infections from 20 strains of the bacteria that cause pneumococcal pneumonia. Continued approval may depend on a supportive study. Don't get Prevnar 20 if you've had a severe allergic reaction to the vaccine or its ingredients. Adults with weakened immune systems may have a lower response to the vaccine. Side effects include pain and swelling at the injection site, fatigue, headache, muscle, and joint pain. For full prescribing information, please call 1-855-213-2138 or visit Prevnar20.com.
Smart talk for curious people just like you. You're listening to Tavis Smiley.
First you say you do, and then you don't, and then you say you will, and then you won't. You're undecided now, so what are you gonna do?
That's Ella Fitzgerald, and we are playing her music, the best of Ella, all 3 hours of today's program because June is Black Music Month. And we have a lot of fun in the month of June, weaving in and out of these conversations every single day with all kinds of great black music. Yesterday it was Curtis Mayfield. Today it's Ella Fitzgerald. Who knows tomorrow? I can give you a little hint. Somebody's got a big birthday later this week where they still with us. His name is Prince Rogers Nelson. So I'm sure one day this week we'll have 3 hours of Prince music. But every day this month we're featuring the best in black music, covering all the genres from blues to hip-hop to R&B to gospel, you name it. Folk, we're going to be playing it every day this month with a featured artist of the day, and that artist today is the amazing, awesome Ella Fitzgerald, all 3 hours of today's program. Pleased to be joined now, I should say, on this program by a longtime civil rights attorney, Ron Kuby, to talk about, briefly here, the trials and tribulations of one Hunter Biden, as you know, on trial right now, and the ultimate question, I guess, is the impact that this case might have on the re-election campaign of the father, Joe Biden. Speaking of the father, here's what President Biden has had to say about his son being on trial as we speak. I quote here, I am the president, but I am also a dad. Jill and I love our son, and we are so proud of the man he is today. Hunter's resilience in the face of adversity and the strength he has brought to his recovery are inspiring to us. As the president, I don't and won't comment on pending federal cases, but as a dad, I have boundless love for my son, confidence in him, and respect for his strength, close quote. Those are the words of Joe Biden. What he didn't say is I think Hunter is innocent. He said he loved Hunter, and he said all the following. I suspect he probably does believe his son is innocent, but I note, since I'm reading between the lines here, reading, as always, for what's not being said, he didn't say he believed in his son's innocence. Maybe he has at some earlier point, but he didn't say that in the last couple of days, given the quote that I'm reading from right now. Ron Kuby, good to have you on. How are you, sir?
I'm excellent, and it's great to be here. Thank you so much. It looks like the American people are going to face a stark choice in November. Do they want a felon living in the White House, or do they want a felon just, visiting his dad there for Thanksgiving?
I love you, Ron Kuby, and I love the frame that you put us in. Since you're already on the road, keep going, because America does have a stark contrast, and you framed it nicely. So tell me more.
Well, look, the Hunter Biden case, it's none of this had to happen. That is, Hunter Biden was offered a perfectly reasonable plea deal for the criminal activity that let us assume he engaged in for purposes of this conversation, so I don't have to say alleged every other word, okay? And it took into full recognition that he didn't cause any harm. He didn't use the firearm in any fashion whatsoever. He actually paid his back taxes. He was an addict at the time, and now he's sober and in recovery. And the deal that was made was he pleads guilty to misdemeanor tax violations, not felonies, misdemeanors, and if he stays clean for 2 years, the gun charge will be dismissed. Perfect, the right wing attacked it as overly beneficial. They accused the Trump-appointed prosecutor of capitulating to the left, to the woke mob, whatever. But it was a perfectly normal plea agreement within that set of circumstances. The problem was that Hunter Biden was afraid, and not without reason, that a new administration might come after him for other things federally. So he wanted a guarantee that he wouldn't be prosecuted for any other criminal activity that he may have committed. The government doesn't give those. They don't say, you have absolute immunity for all crimes known and unknown. Right? Because, if it turns out, you massacred a bus full of nuns as part of a terrorist act, we didn't know about it, we're not going to give you immunity for it. So instead what they did was a bunch of really smart lawyers wrote a really clever agreement that was ambiguous as to what was covered and what was not. And unfortunately, the judge was a patent lawyer in her earlier life. So she's used to reading all of these words very, very carefully to see what they actually mean. I hate that when that happens. Most judges say, fine. You agree with that? It's fine with me. It looks like too long of a contract, but she isn't one of those judges. And she turned to the parties and said, does this mean you cannot prosecute Hunter Biden for any other criminal conduct? And Biden's lawyer said yes. The government said no. And the whole thing then fell apart. So we didn't have to be here, but here we are. And in reminiscence of an earlier time, we are debating in the Hunter Biden case, what does the word "are" mean? Are you addicted to or a user of? Right? It's like the old Clinton when he famously said there is no sexual relationship. What he meant by that is right now, at the moment I'm speaking, Ms. Lewinsky is not under the lectern doing the things that she does. That's all I meant. I must tell you, Ron, before you go forward, I must tell you, that is the greatest line I've ever heard. I mean, when Bill Clinton, in his brilliance, I mean, you can like or loathe him, agree or disagree, but he's a Rhodes Scholar. The guy is absolutely brilliant. I mentioned earlier in conversation with John Bolton that Clinton and I are friends, of course. I think people kind of know that after all these years. But when he said it depends on what the definition of is, I about fell out of my chair, Ron. It depends on what the definition of is. I said, God, President Clinton, I can. Anyway, I digress. Go ahead, Ron. Go ahead. No. Oh, sorry, that's my Bichon Frise in my office. I have dogs here in the law office. They handle the rough cases.
It's okay.
But they work pro bono. Sorry. Moving right along.
That's funny, Ron.
Right, thanks, man. So Hunter Biden's lawyers take the position that when you're asked, are you a user of illegal drugs, it means, are you using illegal drugs right now when you're signing this form and picking up this gun? And look, there's something to be said for that. Actually, when my wife says to me, "Are you picking up the dog poop?" To use a canine metaphor. She's not asking me if I have ever picked up dog poop in the past. She's asking me, are you picking up the dog poop, or do I have to do it? We're having that conversation. Hate that conversation. So, there's some merit to that particular argument, and as to him being an addict, which he clearly was at the time, anybody who has ever dealt with addicts, alcoholics, knows what happens when you confront them and say, Uncle Charlie, you're an alcoholic.
Hold that thought, Ron Kuby. Hold that thought. You're right. We all know what happens when you confront someone who is, in fact, an addict in real time. We'll pick this up when we come forward with Ron Kuby on Tavis Smiley.
This is getting good. Yeah, man. Tavis Smiley continues when we come forward.
We ask seniors how to prevent Medicare scams.
My best advice, if you get a phone call, do not talk to the person. These people are well-trained. Don't talk to them.
They don't know me. They're just trying to scam me.
Don't be fooled. Hang up. Just hang up.
Never give out your Medicare number.
They're going to get your number to put in a false claim.
If I get a call from someone, I don't pick up the phone. And should I pick up the phone and they ask for information, then I hang up.
How do you detect Medicare fraud?
Just like I check my credit card statements, I check my Medicare statements monthly.
Scammers can get a hold of your number, order medical devices through your account, and you're not even going to know about it if you don't look at your statement.
Check your statement every month. If you get your statement and you see something that you know you did not have done, you report it.
Call your Senior Medicare Patrol.
To report Medicare fraud, call the Senior Medicare Patrol at 855-613-7080.
My mom has taken up going to the park to practice yoga.
My dad's going to a club, but not a book club, a salsa club.
Finding new hobbies comes with age.
My mom has started getting lost and not knowing where she's going.
Becoming lost or disoriented doesn't. Confusion with time or place may be a sign of Alzheimer's. An early diagnosis can help improve the quality of life for your loved one. Learn the warning signs of Alzheimer's at 10signs.org. Brought to you by the Alzheimer's Association and the Ad Council.
Hi, Tavis Smiley here. We're getting closer to June 18th, and time is running out for you to register to join us for our historic symposium live on C-SPAN, Tuesday, June 18th, 4 to 7 p.m. at the California Science Center in Exposition Park. Admission is free, but you must register at KBLA1580.com right now if you want to be in the audience when the nation will see for the first time ever a stage full of brilliant black folk talking about the urgency of now. Climate justice, climate equity, climate resilience. It's all going down. Well, it's actually all going up. Tuesday, June 18th, 4 to 7 p.m. Live from the California Science Center in Exposition Park. Again, admission is free, but we're filling up fast. So if I were you, I would log on right now to KBLA1580.com to reserve your seat. Caring about the climate, caring about the community. We're KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black.
Eggs are a staple in our diets, and there's only one egg with more delicious farm fresh taste plus superior nutrition. Eggland's Best. With more vitamins, including 6 times more vitamin D and 10 times more vitamin E, plus 25% less saturated fat than ordinary eggs. Available in so many delicious varieties: classic, cage-free, and organic. Eggland's Best. Better taste, better nutrition, better eggs.
Let's get back to more of Tavis Smiley right now.
More of Ron Kuby right now talking about the Hunter Biden case. Ron, I'm watching my time. It's getting away from me. Let me run through a series of questions right quick that I think will help me personally and my audience think better understand what we're up against, or what the options, what the frame is, I should say, given the case that Hunter Biden is navigating his way through right now. So you mentioned earlier that Hunter wanted a deal that essentially said, I'll plead guilty to this, but you can't prosecute me for anything else. And you said the federal government doesn't really do that. I'm not a lawyer, but I'm just asking right quick. Isn't that kind of what happened with the Bill Cosby case? Cosby agreed to cooperate. He cooperated, and they said, we won't prosecute you ever again. And then they came for Cosby anyway. And then Cosby ended up being found guilty. Cosby goes to prison. The Pennsylvania Supreme Court eventually lets him out and says, hey, y'all had a deal with this guy, and you violated the deal. So it did happen for Cosby, or am I mixing too many things here together?
No, that was a good analysis. It did happen, and the court ruled it, in fact, unenforceable when reversed his conviction. The federal government, though, tends to be much more careful about these agreements.
Got it.
And they just don't do this. I mean, look, if you find the location, if you can locate and target the 5 leaders of ISIS-K. Maybe you'll get that, but it just doesn't happen much.
So ultimately, you've explained well how Hunter Biden got to where he is, and I appreciate that. But ultimately, to your mind, is this a serious case, or is this much ado about nothing? Put another way, is this really just politics being played out here? Because there are many people who just have never bought the argument that this Hunter Biden case really amounts to anything.
Well, it doesn't amount to a great deal. To be sure, the offense is not particularly serious one. Yes, it carries collectively 25 years in prison, but that's usually reserved for people who go into gun stores, purchase multiple firearms when they're not permitted to, take them across state lines, traffic them, that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. These are not often prosecuted, but there's nothing unconstitutional or even necessarily bad about prosecuting high-profile defendants because they are high-profile defendants. You can't prosecute everyone. So you go after people who are prominent, and by convicting them of this offense, it says to all of the rest of us, hey, if they got him, indeed, they could get me. I better tell the truth on my 4473, or for that matter, I better clean up my bookkeeping records to delete that porn star stuff and to make it right.
Yeah. When we come forward in our remaining moments with our guest and friend and brother Ron Kuby, I want to ask him, I mentioned politics a moment ago, I want to ask him, even though we know our judiciary is supposed to be devoid of politics, whether or not he sees politics at play in these cases of Donald Trump versus Hunter Biden. Donald Trump has certainly made that argument. So we know that Judge Juan Merchan, the judge in the Donald Trump case, the Stormy Daniels hush money case, in which he was just found guilty and convicted, we know that Judge Merchan made a contribution, small though it was, a contribution to Joe Biden's campaign. Judge Merchan did that. We now know that the judge, of course, in the Hunter Biden case was appointed by Trump. You see where I'm going, right? And we'll go there when we come forward on Tavis Smiley.
More of Tavis Smiley when we come forward.
If you're like me, 60 and retired, making ends meet, especially here at the supermarket and drugstore, is tough. I'm so blessed to have found benefitscheckup.org. It's a free and confidential website from the National Council on Aging that connected me to $1,200 a year in programs that help pay for food, medicine, utilities, and more. Maybe it can help you. benefitscheckup.org.
My daughter was diagnosed with a rare malignant rhabdoid tumor on the spine. They sent her straight to St. Jude. My hope was gone. But when you get there, everyone's like, hey, we're not going to give up. And when you see other people not giving up on your child, that makes all the difference in the world. When I found out I didn't have to pay, I was just grateful. They saved my baby's life.
Finding cures, saving children. Learn more at stjude.org.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580 reminding you that we keep us safe. Pro Football Hall of Famer and urban peace pioneer Jim Brown believed in just that. So he founded the Amera I Can Foundation for Social Change in 1988, focusing on at-risk and high-risk youth in underserved schools and juvenile detention facilities, as well as adult incarceration and reentry initiatives. The core of the Amera I Can program is its 15-chapter life skills curriculum. Mastery of these skills allows individuals to meet their academic academic potential, conform their behavior to acceptable societal standards, and improve the quality of their lives by equipping them with what they need to confidently and successfully contribute to society. Today, the foundation is led by its president, Monique Brown, who has been actively involved in the organization for more than 25 years. The Amera I Can Foundation continues its work in memory of its founder, actor, philanthropist, and NFL legend Jim Brown. To get involved or make a donation, please visit AmeriICanCommunity.partners. That's AmeriICanCommunity.partners. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Hey, John, why so glum?
I just got let go. The company's downsizing. This is the third time in the last 2 years. I'm done with this.
Have you thought about My Computer Career? I've heard they can train you for a career in IT in just a few months, including cybersecurity and the basics of AI. And you don't need prior training or experience. Now that's a recession-resistant career.
Wow, thanks. I'll check them out.
Go to mycomputercareer.edu and take the free career evaluation. mycomputercareer.edu. Financial aid is available for qualified students, including the GI Bill.
He's rooting for everybody black. Everybody black. More of Tavis Smiley coming your way right now.
More of Ron Kuby coming your way right about now for the last 4 minutes of this hour. I got a tight 4 minutes here, Ron. Let me ask you whether or not you see any politics at play here. Our judicial system is supposed to be, putting that in air quotes, it's radio, supposed to be apolitical, and yet we all know that Judge Merchan, this story broke some weeks ago, made a contribution to Joe Biden. I must say, Judge Merchan is kind of cheap, though. He donated $35 to Democrats in 2020, including a $15 contribution to Joe Biden. This is a judge. He gave a $15 contribution to Biden, but the judge in the Hunter Biden case is appointed by Trump. Am I seeing politics here or not?
Well, you're seeing politics, but I think it's a bit of an illusion. Rather than look at the political affiliations of the judges, it's probably best to look at the quality of justice that's actually being dispensed in the courtroom. That is to say, did Judge Merchan give Donald Trump a fair trial? And the answer among unbiased observers is overwhelmingly yes. In fact, Judge Merchan was very careful to make sure that his rulings will stand up on appeal if there was a conviction, and now we know there was. Similarly, Hunter Biden's judge is being very careful and being very fair. You can always find a reason. If you decide you want to demonize a judge or anybody, you can always find a reason to do it. But I think that's a bad way of analyzing the judiciary and trials.
One final statement and then one final question for our guest, brilliant longtime civil rights attorney Ron Kuby. The statement, the statement is this: if convicted on all counts, Hunter Biden could get a maximum of 25 years in prison, though sentences are typically shorter than the maximum according to the Department of Justice, but he could get a maximum of 25 years, but that in fact would be the max and not likely if he in fact is found guilty, as was Donald Trump. Here's my exit question with a minute to go. I'll give it all to you, Ron Kuby. Will Hunter Biden's gun trial hurt President Biden's campaign?
I don't think that it will, as long as Joe Biden continues to make the very measured statements that he makes, not talking about the trial, not talking about guilt or innocence, not attacking the process, but simply being a dad who has, lost family members, has a son who's an addict in recovery, and he loves very, very much. I think we can all relate to that, no matter how we feel about Joe Biden's policies.
Have you seen anything or read anything or reviewed anything that would allow you to handicap in this conversation right quick whether or not you think he does, in fact, get off?
I think that it's unlikely that Hunter Biden will beat both sets of charges. There's the possibility he could beat the gun case. He's got a pretty sympathetic jury and a defense, but if he does, he goes down on the tax case. It was none of this ever should have happened.
Yeah. He and Al Capone, right? It's the taxes that brought you down. The taxes.
Yeah. Although, as far as I know, Hunter Biden didn't kill anybody.
Yeah, fair enough. I digress on that. Ron Kuby, good to have you on, my friend. All the best. You would do it again.
Thank you, Tavis. Anytime.
Thanks for your time, my friend. When we come forward, more of Tavis Smiley.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Mike Moore. Here's the latest from the Black